Hello, this is Ray Edwards once again from learncopy.com, and in this presentation I would like to look at Monroe's motivated sequence pattern and apply this to copywriting. Most of the information that is used for this presentation could also be found here at this reference, and you're free to to go there and download this reference as well too. Okay, now let's move on to first look at Monroe's theory. Well, Alan Monroe stated that although individuals may vary to some extent, research has shown that most people seek consistency or balance among their cognitions. When confronted with a problem that disturbs their normal orientation, they look for a solution. When they feel a want or need, they search for a way to satisfy this. In short, when anything throws them into a condition of disorganization or dissonance, they are motivated to adjust their cognitions or values or to alter their behavior so as to achieve a new state of balance. In other words, this is a long way of saying that when we as human beings have a problem or are faced with a particular challenge, then we want a solution for the challenge. So the problem or the challenge that comes to us throws us off of balance, and we try to find a solution, and that solution we are looking for is one that would bring us back into balance. Okay, so a very common day experience and common sense knowledge, even though Monroe was the one who stated it in this respect, and therefore he has this theory to his name. Okay, now the motivated sequence derives its name from the fact that by following the normal processes of human thinking, it motivates a prospect to respond affirmatively to the copywriter's purpose. So then it is simply saying then that knowing how people think and how they go about in order to solve the problems that they are faced with, if we follow that same pattern, we are more likely to get an affirmative response if we are trying to persuade them along that particular line. Now, the sequence, Monroe's sequence, contains 5 distinct steps, which we would look at in a little bit more detail in just a minute. But step 1 is attention. Step 2 is need. Step 3 is satisfaction. Step 4 is visualization. And step 5 is action. Attention, we have to get the attention of your prospect. Need describes the problem, demonstrates a need for change. Satisfaction, we present a practical or concise solution. Visualization, we allow the prospect to picture what the results would be like. And finally, action, where we're requesting immediate action from the prospect. Now let's look at each of these steps then in a little bit more detail and how they can be applied to a sales letter. But before we do so, note here that Monroe's sequence follow very closely the IDA formula. In other words, the attention, interest, desire, action formula. Okay, so it is not surprising, therefore, that we can apply Monroe's sequence to copywriting or to marketing, any marketing message, because it is so close to that of the IDA formula. Okay, so let's go to step 1. Now, in step 1, we are obviously trying to get the attention of the prospect. So this is the attention step. So first and foremost, you need to gain the attention of your prospect. Now, in order to gain favorable attention, one or more of the following are recommended. And note here, we're not just trying to get the attention of the prospect, we're trying to get favorable attention. You can get the attention of someone and they could be annoyed. You can come behind an individual and surprise them and they may not be so happy to see you. But we're talking here about getting favorable attention. So these are some different strategies that we can use to get favorable attention. Here we have by relating to the prospect. And relating to the prospect means that you need to show in some way how you and the prospect are the same. How, both of you have some kind of common concern. Okay, so somewhere you want to be able to relate to the prospect. Maybe you're in the same group. Maybe you're from the same country. Maybe they're the same ethnicity. Whatever the solution is or the problem is, you want to somehow show that you and the prospect are the same. Next is to showing the importance of the topic. Okay, so one way of getting attention to show that this is really important. Okay, if someone is writing a letter where they want to get people to donate to a particular fund, to help the elephants that are dying out, then you might show that the fact that, so many elephants are being killed each year in order to get their ivory tusk. And soon, if this pattern continues, it can lead to extinction of the, of elephants. And therefore, this is an important topic and you've got the person's attention. You can do so also by telling a dramatic story. The dramatic story might be a story of your, that is personal to you, or it could be just another story that illustrates a particular point. But the whole idea here is that you're trying to get attention. Another way in which you can do this is by making a startling statement. Okay, you might surprise the person. So you might make a statement such as, every 9 minutes, a drunken driver, kills someone on the street, and right away you get somebody's attention if maybe you are trying to write a letter to get attention to the rate at which drunken drivers are actually causing accidents on the highway. Okay, now the next way in which you can do that is by posing a question. Okay, most likely a rhetorical question. And you can do so by saying, asking a question, are you concerned about your weight? Okay, right away, if the person, is obese, then you've got the person's attention. Then you can arouse curiosity or suspense. Okay, get the person, start thinking about, what the subject, what you want them to be attentive to. By using a video you can use for illustration, by using a quotation that is relevant to your subject, or you can sometimes use a humorous anecdote. But here it is very tricky. If you're going to use a humorous anecdote, you got to make sure that it is really indeed humorous. Okay, but all of those are steps that you can use in order to get the person's attention. Okay, now the second step in Monroe's sequence is that of the need step. Okay, so now we have the person's attention. You need to show what the need is, what the problem is. So now you have the interest and the attention of your prospect. You must next make him feel a need for change. You must show your prospect that there is a serious problem with his current situation. Now, just to point out someone needs and they do not accept it as a need, then basically you have failed. If someone is satisfied with the situation that they're in right now, then as far as they're concerned, they don't have a problem. Okay, so this is now your intervention stage. So it is important to state the need clearly and to illustrate it with strong supporting materials. Okay, so now we have the person's attention. You have to state this need as clearly as possible. Maybe the need is the lack of targeted traffic. Because the person is not getting enough sales from their website, they need more targeted traffic. So you have to state that clearly, and you're going to need to illustrate this with some strong supporting material. Maybe show statistics or show why not getting enough targeted traffic have led into a declension in sales over the past years and so forth. Now, one or more of the following are recommended. Give a clear, concise statement or description of the need or the problem. Okay, one or more detailed examples which illustrates this need. You can also use statistical data. Okay, use statistical data, but just be warned here, you do not want to overwhelm the person with statistics, and make sure that the person is able to relate to these statistics. So you do not want to confuse the prospect. So make sure that the statistics is presented in such a way where it is clear and it is obvious. Okay, you do not want the person have to actually do some research in order to find out and how to interpret your statistics. Make it clear as possible. Then, of course, testimonials or case studies and other form of support to show the extent of the need. This would also be helpful also at this stage. Okay, so not only you want to point out the need, you want to also prove that it is a need. Okay, and therefore, if the person doesn't recognize this to be a need, then you have to do a lot more education, in that respect. It is not every product that someone might think that they need. And only sometimes after you have illustrated what the need is that the person say, wow, I never thought about this, but yes, this is a problem. I didn't even realize I have this problem. But it is a problem, and and you now say, okay, there's a solution. So in your need step, you're going to make convincing demonstration of how the need directly affects your prospects, how it affects their health, maybe how it affects their happiness, how it affects their security, or any other interests the prospect might have. So not only must you be able to demonstrate the need, but you also have to show how the need affects the prospect. Okay? As I said, this is like your intervention stage. If someone, for example, you might be selling a product to get the person to stop smoking, but if the person doesn't think that smoking is a problem, then there's no way you're going to convince that person to make a change. Okay? So not only must you demonstrate the need, but you also have to show as well to how the need affects the person in aspects of their lives, that is important to them, their health, their happiness, their security, or other interests. Now, by the need of this step, your prospect now should be so concerned about the problem that they are psychologically primed to hear your solution. Okay, so you have done such a good job in showing the person their need that the only thing that is on their mind now is, wow, I didn't realize I have this need, but yes, I do have this need. Tell me. I mean, what's the solution? Please let me know what the solution is. So then we come to the satisfaction stage. We now come to the satisfaction step. And, having aroused a sense of need, satisfy it by providing a solution to the problem. Now you're going to present your solution, because there might be other solutions that are out there. Okay, so now you're going to present your solution and show your prospect also how your solution will work. Okay, so it is important not only to show your solution, but also to show how it is going to work. Okay, now the following techniques are recommended here in the satisfaction step. You can briefly state the action or change you wish your prospect to adopt, what they would like them to do. You can provide a complete and concise explanation of your plan or your solution. You can also give a theoretical demonstration to show how this action logically meets the problem. For example, this works very well in the case of if you're kind of selling a software. Okay, giving a demonstration of how the software works and how it's going to satisfy the particular need, is very critical, and therefore a demonstration would work, very well in this case. Now, if your product is new, then giving this complete and concise explanation become even more important. Now, if you are just improving on a product that is already popularly known in the market, then you would not need to give so much, information and explanation and education. But especially if the need is not something that is very apparent to the prospect, or if your product is particularly new to the market, is not well known, then at this point you'll have to give a lot more explanation than under normal circumstances. Then you can give actual examples showing that this solution has worked effectively and it's a practical solution. Okay, so you want to apply your solution to maybe different scenarios that are relevant to the prospect, and show how your solution has worked effectively in the past. Okay, now you can use facts and figures, case studies, testimony of experts in order to support your claim. So it is important here, therefore, then that whenever you are making any kind of claim, always give proof. Do not make any claim without the accompanying proof. Okay? It is important, therefore, then that whatever claim you are making, that it's important that you give proof. Okay? Make sure you give proof for all of your claims. You know, testimonials of experts, you know, works well. Facts and figures and so forth work well in this case. Okay, next, make sure that you give your prospect enough details of your solution so that it is clearly understood. You can use diagrams, you know, flowcharts are often useful here. And again, especially if your product is new. Okay, you need to educate the person with regard to your product, give enough detail. You know, you cannot tell enough about your product. So give enough detail. Maybe the person may not read all of your diagrams or read all of your bullet points, but you must give enough information and details so that it would satisfy you know, all of your prospects. Now, you want your prospect to leave the satisfaction step with a clear understanding of your solution. Okay, so they really know how your software works. They realize how you're able to get such targeted traffic. You know, they realize how you're able to advertise on Facebook so effectively, you know, and therefore now they want to do the same. Okay, they want your, they want your solution. Now your prospect should now be wondering how this will work for them and what it can do for them. Example, they might be thinking, you know, this seems to be a practical solution for me. However, I would like to see or visualize it in action. They are wondering now, how can I really benefit from this product? How can I really benefit from this, you know, particular solution that is presented to me? So notice here that we are following the actual logical steps in the person's mind towards actually taking action in the solution. Okay, and that is why we say it is Monroe's motivated sequence pattern. It's a particular pattern, okay, that, you know, that someone follows. You know, that's a normal pattern that someone follows, you know, when they have a particular problem and they like to solve that particular problem. Okay, so now we come to the visualization step. So now that you presented your solution, you will now intensify your prospect's desire for your plan by helping him to visualize your plan. You want to project your prospect into the future and picture the potential benefits of your plan. So it is important here that not only would you be happy, you know, that your prospect actually would like to try out your solution, would like to try out your plan, but you have to intensify this desire. Okay, you have to build on this particular desire. And one very important way of building on this desire is to take the prospect beyond the action step to actually having your product. So you haven't even mentioned yet how they're able to get the product, but you're already projecting them into the future and picturing them actually enjoying the benefits of your solution. Okay, so here it is important for you to use vivid imagery to show your prospect, you know, how they will profit from your product or service. Make them visualize how much better conditions will be once your plan is adopted. Now they're making more money. They can go on vacations, take their family on vacations. You know, they don't have to worry about the credit card, and debt collectors calling. They can live where they like, buy the cars of their dream. You know, you make, you know, give the vivid imagery, you know, paint the picture for them of what life would be like, you know, having your product. Maybe they have given up smoking, they're not smoking anymore, their breath smells better, their teeth look whiter, they smile, they are accepted in more company. Whatever the situation is, you're painting a picture to let them know what life with your product would be like. Now here the visualization step may be developed by using one of the following techniques. you can use the positive method. Okay, now in the positive method, what you're doing is that you're telling what life would be with your product. Okay, you're giving all the nice points of what life would be like. Okay, so you're forgetting you're leaving out the option. You're not even considering the option that they don't buy, that they don't have your product. Now for you, they have your product. So by describing conditions as they will be in the future if the solution you propose was carried out. So you provide a vivid, concrete description, select some situation in which you are quite sure will arise in the future, and picture your prospect actually enjoying the conditions which acceptance of your plan will produce. Okay, so now they have your product. Now they are producing websites much more quickly, whereas it took them hours, now it's taking them minutes. Okay, so all you're doing is you're presenting to them all the positives. Okay, so that's one way in which you can present, you know, the visualization step. Now, another way in which you can provide the visualization step is by using the negative method. In the case of the negative method, you are describing to them the adverse conditions that will prevail in the future if the solution that you have presented is not carried out. So you're picturing for your prospect the danger or the unpleasantness which will result from failure to follow your advice. So an important technique here is where you can select from your need step the most undesirable aspect of your present situation. Okay, the most undesirable aspect of the reader's prospect's present situation. They're not getting traffic, they're not making any money, you know, they are obese, whatever the situation is. And then you're going to show these conditions, show how these conditions will continue if their proposal is rejected. In fact, show them how it's going to get worse with time if they do not get your solution. And of course, the final method is to combine both of these methods by using both the positive and the negative. And we can call this a contrast method. So by combining the positive and the negative approaches, you can use the negative. It's important that you use the negative method first, visualizing the bad effect if the prospect fails to follow your advice. Then the positive method, you end off with the positive method, end off on a positive note, visualizing the good effects of believing or doing as you recommend. Okay, so that's one way in which you can visualize. Another way in which you can, you know, visualize for your prospects. Okay, now whichever method you use, remember that the visualization step must stand the test of reality. The conditions you picture must be reachable and believable. Okay, so let us say that you are selling a business product and you are showing the person how they can able to make more profit. Okay, now the person may not be at the place where they think that they can now make millions of dollars per month. And therefore, if you present that reality to them, for them it's like a pie in the sky, and for them it's not reachable. So you kill your visualization stage here. So make sure that, and you must know who your target market is, you know, because from your research, you know, you've done, you know, who your target market is and so forth. So from this, it's important that whatever you're visualizing, make it believable. Okay, don't tell them that they're going to be able to live in Beverly Hills and live in these mansions and so forth if, you know, what you're providing might be able to help them to move from the ghettos into the suburbs. So whatever it is, make sure it is real, and the conditions you picture must be reachable for that person. Okay, don't tell them that they can lose 50 pounds, you know, per week, you know, if they can just use 5 pounds. Okay, maybe in their minds think, no, that's not possible. So make sure that whatever it is you're presenting is reachable. Very important. Now, above all, they must be vivid. Let your readers actually see themselves enjoying the advantages, or on the other hand, suffering the evils that you describe. Make it vivid. Okay, now that your prospect is convinced your policy is beneficial, they should be motivated. You know, your product is beneficial, they should be motivated to take action. And now, not tomorrow, not next week. They should be motivated to take action, you know, right away, right now. Now we come to the final step, and the final step is the action step. So now they are now primed now to take action. Now, of course, the function of the action step is to translate the desire that you have created in the visualization step into clear and overt action. So here's where you make your call to action. And you need to be able to tell your prospect exactly what you want them to do now. Not next week, not tomorrow, now. And also, it is important for you to tell them exactly how to do it. Okay? It's important to emphasize here that you need to be very clear on what you want the prospect to do. Don't assume that they know how to do, that they know what to do. Don't assume that they know, well, I need to click on this link and fill in my credit card information. No, tell them. Okay, tell them exactly what they need to do, and also tell them exactly also how to do it. Okay, for example, tell them where to click and the form to fill, and make it clear how to fill the form. You know, you have come all this way and done all the legwork, and you're making it easy for your prospect to take immediate action. Okay, and the key word here again is easy. Okay, you want to make it clear, and you want it to make the action easy for them to take. Okay, no use to persuade them to take an action, and then the action is so difficult for them to take, it's not feasible for them to ever, you know, take that action. Okay, so you want to make sure that whatever action you're asking them to take, it is an easy action. Okay, now I put PS here because this is normally, you know, done in the PS section of a sales letter. But you can now conclude, you know, with a final stirring appeal that reinforces your prospect's commitment to act now. You know, let them know, haven't you dreamed enough? This is now your day. It's now time for you, you know, to enjoy this particular solution. You know, how long are you going to continue with this problem? This is, you know, this is the time for you to move forward and so forth. Okay, so you are now, you conclude with a final stirring appeal that reinforces your prospect's commitment to act now. Now, again, beware, however, of making the action step too long. Okay, beware of making it, the action step, you know, too long or too involved. Again, you want to make this action step as easy as possible, because you're trying to make this easy for your prospect to act right now. Okay, if the prospect is not able to act right away, then afterwards it doesn't make you know, it doesn't make much, you know, much sense to bring them all this way and then they cannot, you know, take that make that action. Okay, so here we come to the end of Monroe's motivated sequence pattern as applied to copywriting. Of course, this is just an overview, and there's much that could be said in details of how it could be applied, and that is what we are going to be looking at in this second part of this Monroe's motivated sequence pattern.